Alright guys, we are on the Unlevelled Wilderness and Daedric Beast mod page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And please don't forget, if you like this mod, please endorse it. That is basically the like button of Nexus Mods. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into what exactly this mod is. Well, it is pretty self-explanatory, really. The mod has two different files, one for Wilderness Beasts and one for the Daedric Beasts. And it essentially unlevels all encounters that you have out in the wilderness or with the Daedra. So essentially, in the base Oblivion game, all of the enemies are going to spawn in leveled to whatever level you, the player, is, which makes for, I guess, a sense of evenness. You are level 1, you fight level 1 enemies, you're never outpowered, and when you get to level 20, you still have stuff to do, there's still challenges to be had. But it is a bit immersion breaking, and this offers a bit of chance and randomness where you might encounter something you're not ready for, or in the later runs, not be stuck only fighting one type of enemy over and over and over. So this just breaks apart the leveling system and instead draws a random enemy from a list rather than whichever one matches your level. And that's pretty much it. It is a fantastic mod though. I've been playing with this in my playthrough of Oblivion Remastered, and it has been fantastic. The Oblivion gates are very random when I run into them. Sometimes they'll be Storm Atronachs and Spider Daedra, and sometimes it'll be a bunch of Clamphers or Scamps. A lot of times it'll be the other ones in between. But man, does this make a huge difference. You just feel a bit more immersed, and I can't properly describe how nice this is, I guess. You just have to play with it, and you'll stop running into the monotony of always running into the same thing over and over once you hit level like 17 or so. So yeah, fantastic mod. Alright, so now that we're done talking about what this mod is, let's go ahead and dive on into installing it. Okay, so for this, I'm going to go ahead and do the mod manager download with Vortex, and then I'll cover manual afterwards, and I'll go ahead and get both of these installed. Okay, so mod manager download for Daedric Beast first. Go ahead and do a slow download. And I'm also going to do the Unlevelled Wilderness Beast as well. Same thing, do a slow download. And as you can see here, I've got Unlevelled Daedric Beast and Unlevelled Wilderness Beast right there, installed and ready to go. And it's just that simple. Vortex is magnificent. Alright. So now let's dive into manual installation, because I know a lot of you out there don't use Vortex. Alright, Daedric Beast first. We're going to do a manual download. Slow download. And let me go find a manual mods folder where I install my mods manually. I'm going to go ahead and save it, and we're going to open this file up. And it's a RAR file. We're just going to go ahead and unzip that. And now that it's unzipped, I can go ahead and delete the RAR file and open this up. So as you can see here, we have this unlevelled Daedric beast.esp file right there. And now we just need to find the right folder to put it in. So I'm going to go ahead and come here to Vortex and open up my game folder. And I know if you're watching this trying to get the manual installation done, you're probably well aware of where your Oblivion Remastered folder is, but if you are not, it is wherever you have Steam installed. For me, that's my C drive, but it is under Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Oblivion Remastered. And then from here, we need to go into Oblivion Remastered, Binaries, Win64. Oops, that is not correct. We need to go to Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data. Sorry, guys. Alright, so Oblivion Remastered, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data folder. And you know you're in the right place if you see several other files that are ESP files. You should see at the very least a bunch of DLCs and the original Oblivion and all that stuff here, as well as probably several other mods that you have installed. And I have an extra little thing to let me know that this is the correct folder because I have the unlevelled Daedric beast.esp file already here, and that is because I have this installed with Vortex already, so it already knows where this is. It's already got it installed and ready to go. Vortex handled all of this for me. But for you guys, you will need to drag and drop this on over and just make sure that it's in this data folder. And that is the first step in getting this installed, but there is another step. We do need to open the plugins.txt file. And as you can see here, I've got it open. You should see a load order similar to this with the base game, and at the bottom here we've got these two. All you have to do to make sure this mod is installed is have unlevelled space Daedric beast.esp right there in your load order, above both of these and below alterdeluxe.esp. And as long as it's in between there, I think this mod's going to work out just great. I don't think load order is a huge deal for this particular mod. And that name is exactly this file name. This just lets the game know that it needs to pull that ESP file in to get this mod. And as long as you put that in here and save this file, that's it. It is totally installed. There's nothing else to do. And we're going to go ahead and get the other mod installed as well manually. This one's the Wilderness Beast. We're going to do the slow download. And again, it's going to be a RAR file. And if I go back up here, we can see it right here. Compressed archive. Yep. We just need to extract it. And once I see it show up right there, I no longer need the RAR file. I'm going to open this up. And we have the unlevelled wildernessbeast.esp file right there. And we are going to also drag and drop it in the exact same folder location. Oblivion Remastered, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data. Just drag and drop this over. And what we should see is I've already got it here because of Vortex, but you guys still need to drag and drop this over, make sure it's in the data file. And then we need to go into the plugins, .txt file, and make sure that you have exactly as this shows up here, unlevelled wilderness beasts.esp, the exact file name that you have here, including the .esp. Very important. Can't have any typos. You have to make sure it's the exact same. And make sure you save this file, and that is it. That is the entire installation process manually for this mod. Hopefully that was pretty simple and straightforward and nobody got lost along the way. If you did have any issues getting this installed, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will do my best to stay on top of the comments and get back to you, and hopefully we can debug whatever's going on and get this all squared away for you. Alright guys, with all that out of the way, as always guys, happy modding and happy Mondays. Alright guys, we are on Dagon's Daedra Diversity mod page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And please don't forget, if you really like this mod, please endorse it. It's basically the like button of Nexus Mods, which I do like this mod quite a bit. So what is Dagon's Daedra Diversity? Well, this mod has a goal here of adding a bit more diversity to the Oblivion Crisis. And when you are in Dagon's Deadlands realm, which is where we are when we go through a Oblivion gate, it adds small chances for some of the other Daedra that we see in other parts of the game, specifically Shivering Isles, as well as Knights of the Nine with the Aurelians. Is that right? The Aurelians? Aurorians. There we go. But yeah, it adds things, and you can see here we've got the Dark Seducer, we have a Flesh Atronach, we have, I think that might be a Golden Saint or a Dark Seducer. That looks like Dark Seducer armor though. We've got the Hungers, and we've also got the Grummites. So lore-wise, where does this sit exactly? Well, technically speaking, the Golden Saints and Dark Seducer are Sheogorath specifically. The Hungers and the Grummites I kind of just think of as lesser Daedra that could show up anywhere. The Flesh Atronach seemed to be something that was very Shivering Isles-esque, but it does make sense that Dagon might have a couple of recruits coming from these different varieties of Daedra. I feel like a Daedric prince can pretty much have access to most Daedra. That doesn't make too much of a lore break for me, though I do suspect the Dark Seducers and Golden Saints might be a bit specific to Sheogorath. Regardless, this is a fantastic mod to add a little bit of spice to those Oblivion gates that I'm sure we've all come to love. Yeah. Alright, so now that we've kind of covered what this mod aims to do, and what it does pretty well, which is add some variety to these Daedric Oblivion gates, let's go ahead and dive into installation. Yep, there's no requirements for this, but this big com patch requires this mod in order to work. Let's just keep that in mind. I'm not using that mod currently, though that may change in the future. I'll take a look at it a bit later and see what that mod is up to. But for now, we're just going to cover installation of this mod, and I will do both the Vortex and manual installation, starting with Vortex. So we're going to do a mod manager download here, do a slow download. And if we look here on Vortex, you can see it show up as Dagon's Daedra Diversity. And that is it. Vortex handled everything, and the mod is currently installed. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Vortex is pretty quick and easy. but some people out there don't use Vortex or can't get Vortex to work. So we're going to go ahead and do the manual download now. Go ahead and do a slow download. And it's going to be a 7-zip file, so save it. Then open this up. You can see here we've got this zip file. I'm going to go ahead and extract it with 7-zip. And now that I see that it's right here, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And we're going to open this up. And as you can see here, we have this ESP file, Dagon's Daedra Diversity. And now we just need to find the correct place to put it. So we're going to open up our Oblivion Remastered game folder. Nice and easy shortcut from Vortex to do that. Makes life a lot simpler. But I'm sure you guys manually installing this are not using Vortex, but you're probably well aware of where your Oblivion Remastered game folder is. And if you are not, it is wherever you have Steam installed, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Oblivion Remastered. And we need to go into Oblivion Remastered folder, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data, and if we scroll down here, you can see there are already tons of ESP files here. Those are from other mods, plus the base game has all these DLCs. But as you can see here, I have Dagon's Daedra Diversity.esp already located here in this folder for data. That's because I have it installed with Vortex, and Vortex does all this heavy lifting for us. But for you guys manually installing, all you have to do is drag and drop this file over here, place it inside this data folder, and then once that's done, we then have to come to this plugins text file, open it up, and we need to make sure that Dagon's Daedra Diversity.esp is placed in this load order. I've noticed that it should be above the Altar Gym Nav and the Tamriel leveled region, but below AltarDeluxe.esp. As long as it's in between those two, it should be good. Just make sure you add exactly this file name, including the .esp extension at the end there. Make sure it's not any typos or anything like that. Make sure that it's right here. And you should be good to go with installation. One more thing to note about this, compatibility-wise, this mod updates the leveled list for Daedra. So if you have another mod that affects leveled lists, just keep in mind this mod may overwrite some of those changes, or your other mod might overwrite these changes. So whichever one you favor more, make sure is loaded second. Make sure it's loaded after the other mod in order for it to show up. Alright, that is the last little bit of note. Hopefully everything here was pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and easy to follow along with. If you got lost along the way or you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will do my best to get back to you, and hopefully we can resolve any issues you encounter. Alright, with all that out of the way, guys, happy modding and happy Mondays. Alright guys, we are on the Better Oblivion Crisis Daedra Realm Wilderness mod page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And please don't forget, if you like this mod, go ahead and endorse it. That's basically the like button of Nexus Mods. And let me tell you, this mod is 100% getting my endorsement. I love this mod. If any of you have been watching my Oblivion playthrough, you will have probably seen, especially recently, that there are a large amount of Daedra showing up in the wilderness as I've been exploring. And this is, I think, quite lore accurate. And as you can see, there's no Oblivionness going on. So this is clearly somewhere out in the wilds, and Daedra are roaming the wilds. This mod adds so much realism to the game, I can't express it enough. You hear rumors all the time from guards telling you to keep to the road because the wilderness isn't safe, and people talking about Daedra being spotted in the wilds, but in the base game, none of that's actually happening, which, you know, kinda sucks. I had hoped they had been spawning, and this mod does exactly that. I freaking love it. Okay, so we've covered now what this mod is. I'm going to go ahead and talk about requirements for just a quick second, and maybe deep dive a little bit into what this mod does behind the scenes to cover the requirements. Because this mod doesn't actually require anything, but there are two mods here that do require it, and even this one. I think all three of these are patches that kind of bring a bunch of mods together. And why I think you probably want to follow these links and get the patches in case you're using other mods is because this mod specifically changes a bunch of leveled lists for wilderness encounters and replaces a bunch of the vanilla leveled list with Daedra spawns. Now, that is probably pretty good, but you may have other mods that also affect these spawn list here. If you do, you probably need a patch in order to make sure this mod works with that mod as well. Now, I can't tell you exactly every single mod that affects these lists, but these patches are probably going to cover that in depth. You'll probably see specifically what kind of patches these provide, what mods that it merges together, as it were. I'm not going to dive into that too much, but I highly suggest you look at these three right here and see what mods need patches in order to be compatible with this mod. And I will say as well, what exactly is a patch? Essentially, it combines the mods so they play well together and make sure they are not in conflict with each other and not overwriting each other. And in order for a patch to work, you do need both of the mods that it's patching to be loaded before it in the load order. So keep that in mind as well when you get these patches. Make sure that you load them after both of the mods that it's patching. Okay, so with that out of the way, and hopefully not super confusing with patches, let's go ahead and dive into installation. So here in the Files tab, we can see three different files, and two of them are the main files, which essentially is the base mod, which I've been using in my playthrough of Oblivion Remastered, and then we have another one that has higher spawn counts, and you can see here the Dremora have parties of 3 and the Daedric Beast packs of 2, rather than 2 and 1 respectively, which I think is a bit much for me right now. I think I've cranked the difficulty up a bit in my playthrough, and I don't really want that right now. But some of you out there might be a bit crazy and want that increased risk. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and download this one. It's essentially going to be the exact same download between both of these, and I do encourage you to kind of experiment between the two of these and find which one works best for you. I am only going to cover this download right now, but essentially both of these are the exact same download. But yeah, just follow what I'm doing here, but use this mod instead. And then you probably, maybe, have to change the file name in the load order to this one, whatever it ends up being. Then we have one other file here, which is an optional, and it requires either of these to be installed, which is telling me that they're probably going to be the same file name. But once you have either one of these installed, you can optionally install this as well. Make sure that it's loaded afterwards, and it will decrease the chance that Dremora and Daedric beasts show up by 50%. I'm not going to use that currently because I kind of like these showing up right now. But essentially it's going to follow the same process. Just make sure it's loaded after these. Okay, with that overview out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and actually cover installation now. And we're going to do both the manual and the vortex, starting with vortex. So we're going to do a mod manager download, do a slow download, and if we pull up vortex here, you can see it's showing up in vortex as BOC, which is a Better Oblivion Crisis, Daedra Are Wilderness. Which, that is it, guys. That is the entire installation process. If you're using Vortex, you clicked a button and Vortex handled it. The end. All done. I love Vortex. Alright, but let's go ahead and get into manual installation because I know some of you out there won't be using Vortex or can't get Vortex working for one reason or another. So let's go ahead and do the manual download. Slow download. And I do have this manual mods folder where I keep my mods that I install manually. Go ahead and save and open up this folder. And as you can see, I've got this compressed archive folder here. I'm going to go ahead and extract it with 7-zip. You can see here, there it is. Now that it's unzipped, I can delete the zip file. And we'll open this up. You can see here we have a folder, Better Oblivion Crisis, Daedra Are Wilderness. And we have this file right here, Better Oblivion Crisis, Daedra Are Wilderness.esp, indicating it's an ESP file. If you don't see the .esp, that's totally fine. You just aren't able to view extensions in your file explorer. That's a setting you can change in here. No big deal right now. Not the end of the world if you don't see it. Alright, so let's go to games here in Vortex. I'm just going to open up my Oblivion Remastered game folder because we have to put this somewhere. Now, I know if you guys are manually installing this, you probably aren't using Vortex to find your game folder. I'm just doing that because it's a lot simpler. But if you don't know where your games folder is for Oblivion Remastered, just know that it's wherever you have Steam installed. It's Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Oblivion Remastered. Okay, with that out of the way, let's find the place to put this sucker, which is in Oblivion Remastered, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data, and as you can see in here, extend this out, you can see several ESP files are in here already. And if we scroll down just a little bit, you can see I have the Better Oblivion Crisis Daedra Are Wilderness.esp file right there already installed because I've installed this with Vortex already. And Vortex handles all this heavy lifting for me automatically, which is very nice and very convenient. But for you guys manually installing, what you're going to need to do is drag this file over here into the data folder that we're looking at. And then once that is done, there is one extra step we need to do, which is edit our load order. We need to go to the plugins.txt file and open it up. And you can see here we have a load order, and more than likely you're going to see a load order looking something like this with all your other mods afterwards, and it's kind of sandwiched in between these two. Just make sure you put this file name exactly as it appears right here in your load order, typed out exactly the same. You can even copy and paste this on over, and make sure that you have the ESP extension at the end of this thing. It has to be exact and precise and perfect, otherwise it's not going to work. But if you have this here, that is the final step for installation, guys. And that is it. You put it in here, you save this file, and you are done. It is installed. And real quick, I do want to talk about one last thing, just in case you guys are installing this optional file. More than likely, it's going to be its own ESP file that needs to go in the load order after this right here. Okay, so if you have that optional file, or if you have any of the patches that merge this file with another, or merge this mod with another, that are both editing that spawn list, just make sure they go after this in the load order here as well. Save this away and you are good to go. Hopefully that was pretty simple and straightforward and easy to follow along. And I hope you guys found a mod that you really like. If you did get lost along the way, or you have any questions or got turned around somehow, let me know in the comments down below and I will do my best to get back to you and help you figure this out. Hopefully modding is pretty straightforward and simple, guys. And with all that out of the way, happy modding and happy Mondays. Alright guys, we are on Better Oblivion Crisis Cultist Replaced Conjurers mod page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And if you found that you really like this mod, please don't forget to endorse it. That's basically the like button of Nexus Mods. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into what this mod does specifically. And as you can probably tell, it replaces Conjurers with Mythic Dawn Cultists. So we got a couple of screenshots here, just covering this. Man, this is fantastic. So essentially, in all the dungeons across Cyrodiil here that we might encounter Conjurers, it's just going to spawn in Mythic Dawn Cultist instead, which is phenomenal. I freaking love this. And you can see here there's quite a detailed breakdown of what these different Mythic Dawn cultists do, as well as compatibility. And that is pretty much it. We can go ahead and look here at requirements now. And this mod does have a optional requirement of the NL tag remover. If you have encountered in several things in your modding experience this NL going on in front of items, the NL tag remover cleans that up and removes that tag in front of the item names. And this is one of those mods that adds a couple of items, so it is going to need that mod in order to have a better experience, I suppose is the right way to say this. And if you don't have that mod installed, I will have a link in the description down below of my video covering how to get that installed and set up for you locally. It's a fantastic mod. I do highly recommend it. This is not required in order for this mod to work, but it will clean this mod up nice and make things look a lot better. So I do highly recommend it. Okay, with that out of the way, let's actually dive into installation now. So as you can see here, we only have the one file. I'm going to go ahead and cover both the Vortex installation and manual installation for you guys now, starting with Vortex. So we're going to do the Mod Manager download, slight requirement on NL tag remover. I'm going to go ahead and hit download, do a slow download. And as you can see here in Vortex, it is showing up right here, BOC Cultists replace Conjurers. That is better Oblivion Crisis, which is fantastic. Vortex is all done and has fully installed this mod, and it's good to go. But some of you out there don't like Vortex or can't get Vortex to work for one reason or another. So you're going to be looking for a manual install, and we'll dive into that right now. Manual install, we're going to do a download, slow download, and it's going to show up in my manual mods folder where I save all my things I install manually. And you can see it's right here with the zip file. I'm going to go ahead and extract it with 7-zip. And we're going to go ahead and delete this 7-zip file now that I have it right here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And as you can see here, we have this ESP file, Better Oblivion Crisis Cultists replace Conjurers. And now it's just a matter of where do we put this thing. So I'm going to open up my games folder here. Now I know if you guys are manually installing this, you don't have Vortex. So you'll need to find your Oblivion Remastered games folder. I'm sure if you're manually installing this, you're well familiar with where that is, but if you are not, it's wherever you have Steam installed. For me, this is my C drive. But it's going to be under Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Oblivion Remastered. And from here, we need to go into Oblivion Remastered, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data, and we are here. You can see all of these ESP files all over the place. That's how you know you're in the right place. And for me, I already have the Better Oblivion Crisis Cultists Replace Conjurers ESP file right here. And that's because I already did the Vortex installation, and it does all the heavy lifting for me. But for you guys, all you have to do is drag this file on over, place it in this data folder, and then we only have one more final step in order to complete installation. We need to open up this plugins.txt file, and you can see this is essentially the load order for Oblivion. It's got Oblivion plus all the DLCs and stuff, all the mods that I have installed, as well as these two at the end here. And Vortex has already taken care of adding this to my load order here, the Cultists Replace Conjurers ESP. You guys need to put this exact file name as it appears here in this file above Alter Gem Nav and below Alter Deluxe ESP. Anywhere in here seems to work just fine. And as long as it's not a typo and you include this .esp at the end, everything should work just fine. Should be right in your load order. And save this file. Once you're done with that, you have successfully manually installed this mod. Hopefully that is not really confusing at all, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If you did get lost along the way or you've got any troubles, please let me know in the comments down below, and hopefully I will be able to help you get it resolved and get you up and running with this fantastic mod and playing Oblivion Remastered with it. Alright guys, with all that out of the way, happy modding and happy Mondays. Alright guys, we are on Lethal Lava page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And please, please don't forget, if you like this mod, go ahead and endorse it. That is basically the like button of Nexus Mods. And with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into what exactly this mod is and why I like it so much. Well, essentially, it increases the amount of damage that lava does as you're stepping in it. So, it's a ×4 multiplier, and I think that just adds to the lethality of Oblivion Gates, obviously. That's where the lava's at. It just makes that a dire consequence rather than a mild inconvenience of fire damage. And I think it really adds to the atmosphere when you're in those Oblivion Gates and feels a little bit more immersive that lava melts you. Alright, that is pretty much the summary of this mod. Sorry I'm not demoing it in the game, but I think the point comes across pretty easily enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and save some time and we'll get into installation now. So I am going to cover both the Vortex Mod Manager download and also manual. And we're going to start with Vortex for now. So we do a Mod Manager download, do a slow download. And as you can see here in Vortex, we have Lethal Lava showing up right there. And it is installed and enabled. And that is it. If you're using Vortex, it is just that simple and straightforward. But for everyone who is not using Vortex or can't seem to get Vortex to, work, let's go ahead and dive into the manual install. Manual download, slow download. It's going to get saved in my manual mods folder. And then I'm going to open this up. And as you can see, we have this RAR file here. I'm just going to go ahead and extract it with 7-zip. And then delete this. Alright, so we open up Lethal Lava and we have an ESP file. And now we just need to put that in the right folder. So I'm going to open up Vortex to get to my game pretty easily. Game folder. Now, I know if you're installing this manually, you probably aren't using Vortex, but you're probably also aware of where Oblivion Remastered is at. But in case you aren't, it's wherever you have Steam installed, and for me that's the C drive. And then you go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Oblivion Remastered. And from here you should see some of this at least, the Oblivion Remastered exe and all that. And from here, we need to go into Oblivion Remastered, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data, and in this folder, we should see a lot of ESP files. And that's how we kind of know we're in the right place. And for me at least, you can see lethallava.esp is right here. And that's because I just got this installed with Vortex. But for you guys to manually install this, what you're going to need to do is drag and drop the ESP file over here. And then once it is copied over here and in this data folder, we then need to do one more step, which is to edit the plugins.txt file. I'm going to open that up. And if we scroll down a bit, you can see that Vortex has already done this for me. You guys are going to need to place lethal space lava.esp somewhere above this alter gym navigation.esp and below alter deluxe.esp. And I don't think this really matters where in the load order that you put it. I don't think many things are going to be touching lava, so it's probably safe to put anywhere in your load order. But after you have this here and you've added this to this file and you save the file, that is it. The mod is completely installed after that. Hopefully that was pretty easy, pretty straightforward and simple to follow along with. But if you did get lost along the way, or you're having any kind of troubles, or are just having some questions that you need answers to, let me know in the comments down below, and I will do my best to address any issues people are popping up with, and hopefully we can get this mod set up and ready to go for you. I don't think this is a huge, complicated install process for this one. Pretty straightforward. Alright, with all that out of the way, guys, as always, happy modding and happy Mondays. Alright guys, we are on the main quest progression requires closing Oblivion Gates mod page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And one more thing, if you do like this mod, please endorse it. That is basically the like button of Nexus Mods. And with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into what this mod is exactly. So this mod, periodically throughout the main quest, will add checkpoints where you need to close a certain number of Oblivion gates in order to progress further in the main quest. Now, I do believe that this is a immersive mod and a very lore-friendly mod, but I can also see how this mod's not exactly going to be for everyone. I know that a lot of people don't like how repetitive the Oblivion gates are, and so I don't know that this is going to be a fan favorite of each and every person watching this video, but it is a fantastic mod. I do think that this mod will add and enhance the immersion that you have in your playthrough if you're following the main quest. It does give you a better sense of being a lore-accurate hero of Kvatch that's going around closing Oblivion gates. Alright, now, we need to talk about a couple of things because this mod does affect the main quest and affects it in a large way. And because of that, there are some caveats to this mod. It is not recommended that you install this mod in the middle of a game that you already are playing, especially if you've already progressed through the main quest. This will affect the scripts that this mod has and can cause several issues. So it's highly recommended that if you are going to use this mod, that you do not get it installed mid playthrough and you start a new character with it. Okay, so that is the first thing. The second thing is the compatibility with other mods that affect the main quest. Because this is going to alter the main quest quite a bit and throw some requirements in, mods that affect the main quest probably will get overwritten by this mod if you have both of them installed. There is, however, some good news on that front, which is over here in requirements. So we have two different patching mods right here that essentially do patches between different mods, and both of these have patches to make this mod compatible with other mods. And the big one that is sticking out to me right now, especially for myself since I have this mod, is Michael's UORP Patch Hub, which is the unofficial Oblivion Remastered patch hub. So this mod and the unofficial Oblivion Remastered patch are going to be completely incompatible with each other. Whichever one is loaded second is going to overwrite all of the changes of the other one, essentially. In order to alleviate that, we need to visit this mod right here, which I have pulled up here. And I will also leave a link down below in the description to this mod as well. But we will need to get the patch for this in order to get it to work. So I'll go ahead and cover all of that right now with installation. All right. So we come over here to Files, and you can see there are actually 4 files. And they are numbered 1222, 2333, 2335, 3557. So essentially, at the 4 checkpoints throughout the main quest, you're going to be required to close this many additional Oblivion gates. So in total, for this first file, you have to close 7 gates. But in total here, it'll be 11. And then in total here is going to be 13, followed by 20 Oblivion gates by the end of the main quest. So just keep all that in mind when you are downloading this. Use only one. You do not need multiple versions of this. This isn't required for this. They actually overwrite each other. Just pick one of these. I am only going to cover this first one. I think it's plenty enough Oblivion gates for me. And I think they're all going to pretty much follow the exact same installation instructions. So if you're picking a different version, just follow along with what I'm doing here, except instead of downloading that one, download whichever one you want. All right, with all of the caveats out of the way, unless I forgot something critical, which I don't think that I did, let's go ahead and get to installation here, starting with Vortex, and we will cover manual in a little bit. So first things first, we need to do the mod manager download. We need to do a slow download. Uh-oh. Well, that's interesting. Let's try that again. I just downloaded this a couple minutes ago. Okay, there we go. Vortex being weird, but I caught it on camera this time. Alright, so we got the main quest progression requires closing Oblivion gates, and it's got the number right here as well. You can, if you would like, install all 4 of these and just toggle which one's on at a time. That's totally doable. Just make sure that you only have one of these installed at a time. So this is basically it for Vortex, unless, of course, you have the unofficial Oblivion Remastered patch, in which case we're going to need this unofficial Oblivion Remastered patch hub. So I'm going to come over here to Files, and we need to scroll down just a little bit here, and you can see this file right here, main quest requires closing Oblivion gates, UORP. And it has a note here that this works with any progression option. That is great to note, and it shows which versions of each that you need to be compatible, which is totally fine. And we're going to go ahead and do a mod manager download for this as well. And if we see here, it went ahead and downloaded it and has it installed here. Michael's UORP, Patch Hub, main quest requires closing Oblivion Gates, UORP. And if we check our load order, I'm pretty sure, yep, we have the main quest progress requires Oblivion Gates, followed shortly after by the patch. You want to make sure that the patch is below the main quest progress requires Oblivion Gates and below the unofficial Oblivion Remastered patch. So just keep that in mind with this patch here, needs to be below the other two. But with that out of the way, guys, that is it for Vortex. Vortex is pretty simple, pretty easy to do. It's pretty much click and download if you've got it up and running. But I know some of you out there either can't get Vortex up and running or just don't like Vortex, which is totally fine. We're going to go ahead and cover the manual installation now. All right, so manual download. I'm going to do a slow download. Save it here, and then I need to open that folder. And then you see we have this compressed zip file. I'm going to go ahead and extract it with 7-zip. So, and then go ahead and delete this. Now that I have this folder, I'm going to open it up. And as you can see here, we have this ESP file right here. Now we just need to put it in the right directory and maybe one or two other things. So I'm going to open up my games folder, easy to do from Vortex. If you guys are not using Vortex, which is likely if you're manually installing, you probably also do know where your Oblivion Remastered folder is, but in case you don't, it is wherever you have Steam installed, which for me is in my C drive. And you need to go to Steam, Steam Apps Common, Oblivion Remastered, and you should have something that resembles some of this. Okay, so from our game folder for Oblivion Remastered, we're going to open up Oblivion Remastered, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data, and as you can see here, there are several ESP files, which is exactly what we want to see. And we're going to scroll down just a little bit. And as you can see, I already have this main quest progress requires Oblivion Gates .esp file right there. That's because I have it installed with Vortex, and Vortex is handling all the heavy lifting for me. But for you guys, you will need to drag and drop this file over into this data folder here. And then once that's done, you then need to open up this plugins.txt file. And you should see your load order here with Oblivion and the DLCs and all of that. And if you scroll down here, you should see, well, you probably won't see, but I do because I have this installed with Vortex. I have the main quest progress requires Oblivion Gates.esp right here. You guys are going to need to take this file name exactly as it appears here, including the .esp at the end, and put it in this plugins.txt file somewhere above the alter gem navigation ESP and below alter deluxe.esp. Okay, now this is one of those tricky mods where the load order does somewhat matter. If you want this mod to take over and overwrite other changes to the main quest that you have from other mods, it needs to be loaded after those mods. If you would rather those mods overwrite the main quest, they need to be loaded after this mod. And if there are any patches for that, the patch needs to be loaded after both of them. So just keep that in mind as well. The load order can be a bit tricky with this mod. Now, I did say we were going to also cover the patch, so let's go ahead and come over here and do a manual install for it as well. We're going to scroll back down here to this main quest requires closing Oblivion gates, UORP, and we're going to do a manual download. Going to do a slow download. It's going to get saved to that same folder that I have. And if I go up, you can see there's a compressed archive folder here, and we're going to extract it just as we did the other file. And once I see that it exists here, I can go ahead and delete this and open this folder. And you can see here we have this patch UORP MQ requires Oblivion gates.esp. And we're going to do the same thing that we just did with the other file, and we're going to just drag this on over as well. And you can see I already have patch UORP MQ requires Oblivion gates ESP right here. That's because Vortex has done the heavy lifting for me. But for you guys, you will need to drag this over for data. And again, this is only if you have the unofficial Oblivion Remastered patch installed. If you don't, you do not need this patch whatsoever. In fact, having this patch will probably break your game. Okay, so now that we have that, we do need to open the plugins.txt file again, and you will need to make sure that the exact file name as it appears here, including .esp, is added to your load order after both main quest progress requires Oblivion gates and the unofficial Oblivion Remastered patch ESP file, including the deluxe. So if you are going to use this patch, you do need to add it to this file, very similar to how you added this to the file as well, exactly as the file name is right there, and then save this file, and you should be good to go and done with your manual install for this mod. Now, I hope that you guys were able to follow everything I just did pretty simply, pretty easily. But if you did have any troubles along the way, or got confused, or have a couple of questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Alright guys, with all of that out of the way, happy modding and happy Mondays. Alright guys, we are on the Daedra Are Actually Bad mod page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And please guys, if you like this mod, you find that it's a really good mod, please don't forget to endorse it. That is basically the like button of Nexus Mods. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into what exactly this mod actually is. So this mod is a very immersion enhancing mod, 100%, and it adds some consequences, I would say, to some behavior in the middle of an Oblivion Crisis where Daedra are pouring in from Oblivion, by making it a crime to summon Daedra from Oblivion. Which, yeah, this could be terrible for some of you, but yeah, I think that it definitely can adds some dilemmas if you're a spellcaster focusing on conjuration, because most of the conjures you can come up with are going to be Daedra, but essentially this adds an infamy point to the player whenever they summon one, and someone's not in an evil faction. This isn't going to destroy your game or anything like that. It does add some consequence to it, though, as in the middle of an Oblivion Crisis, summoning Daedra is actually going to affect the morality system of the Oblivion game. Alright. I do think this is a fantastic mod. I think it makes total sense that in the middle of a Daedra invasion, summoning Daedra is frowned upon. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the installation for this mod now. And I'm going to go ahead and cover both the Vortex installation and the manual installation. So let's dive into the Vortex first. Do a Mod Manager download. Go with a slow download. And you can see Vortex has already installed Daedra Are Actually Bad, and it's got it enabled. And we are good to go. That is all there is when you use Vortex. Now, for you out there that do not have Vortex up and running correctly for one reason or another, or just don't like Vortex, let's dive into manual downloads. Do a slow download, and we're going to save this here to my folder for mods. Open it up. You can see there's this zip folder here. I'm going to go ahead and extract it with 7-zip. And now that it's here, I can go ahead and delete the zip folder. I'm going to open this up, and you can see daedraarebad.esp. We just have to put this in the right location in our game folder, which is pretty simple. Let's go ahead and open up our game folder. And now that we have that up open, I know I just got the shortcut using Vortex. If you are installing this manually, you're probably well aware of where your Oblivion Remastered game folder is, but if you are not, it is going to be wherever you have Steam installed. For me personally, that's in my C drive, and it is in Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Oblivion Remastered. And from here, we are going to go into the Oblivion Remastered folder, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data. And in here, we should see, for me at least, Daedra Are Bad ESP. That's because I already have this installed with Vortex. You guys are most likely not going to see that if you're installing this manually. But all you have to do is drag and drop this file over into the data folder here. And once that's done, there's only one more step to do, which is we have to open the plugins.txt file here. And you should see your load order, which has the Oblivion ESM, a bunch of DLCs, yada yada yada. And at the bottom should be Alter Gym Nav and Tamaria Level Region. All you need to do is add this file name exactly as it appears here, Daedra space R space bad .esp, into this load order here. It needs to be above the alter gym navigation.esp and below alter deluxe. As long as it's somewhere in here, it should work. Once you have that added, go ahead and save the file, and it should be totally done and installed. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing for anybody and you guys are able to follow along with everything that I did. If you did get lost somewhere along the way or you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below and I will do my best to get back to you and help debug whatever it is that's going on. Hopefully we can get this working for your local setup. With all that out of the way, guys, as always, happy modding and happy Mondays. Alright guys, we are on the Quarantined Oblivion Gates mod page on Nexus Mods. As always, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you guys can follow along with everything that I'm doing. And if you find that you really like this mod, please endorse it. This is one of my all-time favorite mods, bar none. I would love to see this thing get way more endorsements than it's currently got. What exactly is this mod, though? What is Quarantined Oblivion Gates? Well, if any of you have been watching my playthrough of Oblivion Remastered, you've probably seen this in action over and over again. It essentially adds Imperial soldiers defending against infinite waves of Daedra pouring out of all of the wild Oblivion gates that you encounter in your journeys. So anywhere an Oblivion gate pops up, there's going to be Imperial soldiers. And as you can see from here, there are regular Imperial soldiers, there's Imperial battle mages, and there are even archers. This is one of the greatest immersion adding mods I have had the pleasure of playing with. It changes my attitude towards Oblivion Gates 100%. It impresses upon you the urgency to go over there and help fight off the Daedra as they're pouring out, because these guys are going to die if you don't. So it does add a bit of urgency there, but it also adds a lot more motivation to actually close the gate, because until you do, there's going to be infinite waves of Daedric pouring out. So, man, I can't describe enough how much this changes how I see Oblivion Gates when I'm playing the game. It goes from, oh, that's neat and I'll move on, to, oh, that's something I should deal with right now. I'm going to go do that. I love this mod. This is all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorite mods, 100%. Alright, now let's go ahead and dive into the next part, which is the installation. And the first part of that is requirements. So this mod is going to require two different mods, UE4SS for Oblivion Remastered and UE4SS Test Sync Map Injector. You will need both of these mods in order for this mod to work. Fortunately, I have videos already covering how to get these installed and up and running, and I will leave links to those videos in the description down below so you guys can get those set up and ready to go. Alright, now. Yeah. Let's dive into actual installation, and I'm going to cover both the Vortex installation and the manual installation, but let's go ahead and start with the Mod Manager download first. Alright, so it's going to remind us we have these two requirements. I'm going to trust you guys that you went ahead and got these installed, and start the Vortex download now. And as you can see here on Vortex, Quarantined Oblivion Gates is right there installed and enabled and ready to go. And that essentially is all there is when installing this for Vortex, it is up and running and ready to go. And that's it. So let's go ahead and go to manual installation now. We'll do the manual download. It's going to slow download. It's going to go there, and then once it's done downloading, we can open it up. And as you can see, I have this zip file right here. And we are going to go ahead and extract it with 7-zip. And now that I have it extracted, we can delete the zip file. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to open this up, and you can see we have both the quarantinegates.esp and the sync map folder. Now we just need to find the right place to put those. So I'm going to open up my game folder, which I'm going to do from Vortex because it's pretty simple, pretty easy to do. But for you guys, you will need to find your Oblivion Remastered game, which you should be familiar with where it is if you're installing this manually. But if you're not familiar with where it's at, it's wherever you have Steam installed. For me, that's on my C drive. And it's inside Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Oblivion Remastered. And from here, we're going to go into Oblivion Remastered, Content, Dev, OBV Data, Data. And in here, you can see a couple of things. The first is that I already have Quarantine Gates right there. I already have the ESP file installed right here, and that's because I have it installed with Vortex, and Vortex does all the heavy lifting for me. So there it is, and then the other thing that we're going to see is there's already a sync map folder here. If we open this up, you can see we've got the quarantinegates.ini right here, and that is also already installed. So Vortex has done all this heavy lifting for me already, but for you guys, you will need to drag and drop all of the contents here into this data folder where all the ESP files are and the sync map folder itself is. You just drop them in here, and hopefully both of these are going to go in nice and neat and snug, and that'll be that. And then there's only one last thing you need to do to make sure that this is installed manually and correctly, is you need to open your plugins.txt file, which is essentially your load order. You should see at least Oblivion, the DLCs, and at the very bottom here, Alter Gym Navigation, and all that. You need to add quarantinegates.esp exactly as it appears here, which is exactly the file name, including the .esp. You need to make sure that you add it above Alter Gym Navigation, but below Alter Deluxe and Alter ESP. Okay. Once you've done that, guys, you have completely installed this manually, and if you save this file, you are good to go. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing and you guys found a cool new mod to add to your load order. If you did get lost along the way or are confused about anything or have some questions, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will do my best to get back to you and hopefully help resolve any issues you encounter. And with that all out of the way, guys, as always, happy modding and happy Mondays. Hey guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And thanks for watching Modding Mondays, the series. I am trying to get these videos spread as far and wide as possible so we can get as many people as possible modding this game and not being afraid to try to get their local system set up. I am going to need your help in doing this though, so please, please, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video as much as possible so we can get more people modding this amazing game. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you next time.